Hello again. I am Janar. I am with you with another video. Today we are gonna discuss pilot jobs opportunities in 2025. We know that we are facing lots of turbulences. We are facing lots of surprises that we didn't expect in 2024, especially in the United States. Airlines decrease the capacity as the time goes by. We are planning to have little bit less than what they forecasted when it comes to their revenue and load factors. But that being said, is it that bad in 2025, or we are expecting something similar in 2024 when it comes to pilot hirings? Are you ready? Let's get started. In 2024, major airlines in the United States hired more than 4,800 pilots. That's significantly less compared to 2023. In 2023, airlines hired more than 12,000 pilots, from 12,000 to 4,800 something. Of course, there are lots of factors affecting that. In 2022 and 2023, airlines needed to hire thousands of pilots because during COVID time, they offered early retirements. When they recovered so fast, they needed desperately pilots. That's why they reduced the requirements, and then they hired everyone that they can find. That's why people were so lucky in 2022 and 2023. But in 2024, everything got a little bit difficult for various reasons. Supply chain issues forced the airlines to postpone their airplanes deliveries. That's why they needed to reduce the total amount of pilots they're gonna hire for 2024. So they slash their total hirings for 2024. 2025 will be no difference to that. We can say that in 2025, finally, airlines are going pre-pandemic levels, and then we are targeting somewhere around 5,000 pilots per year starting from 2025 for North America. Mainly driving factors for these hirings are because of the retirements that they will have for the next 10 years in the United States. United, Delta, American, all combined, they have thousands of retirements in each year. To compensate these retirements, they need to hire new pilots. And also they will get new airplanes, but because of the low demand right now in 2025, they will replace their old airplanes with the new ones. So in fact, they're not gonna grow that big. Initially, what they plan is they were planning to grow, and they wanted to keep their old airplane with the existing current demand of the passenger traffic. But now it went a little bit down due to worldwide political tensions, globally economic slowdown impacted the airline industry for 2025. So guys, you can see that trend is going down, right? There are lots of factors why airlines slowing down, which I've listed this in the previous video. Airlines hired based on what they thought that they will be getting from the manufacturers, right? They created airlines to hire more than what they needed in a short-term perspective. We can say that the airlines already hired enough for 2025, maybe early 2026. That's why we can see that in the United States, market disruption, financial uncertainty, overstaffing due to lack of airplanes resulted airlines to hire less than what they forecasted. Okay, what do we expect from 2025? We can say that still United, Delta, and American will be the major driving factors on hirings. They will hire the most in the United States compared to low-cost or ultra-low-cost carriers. And I don't expect any hiring from ultra-low-cost carrier market. Maybe Frontier can hire a little bit, but Spirit, JetBlue, they're financially struggling right now. I don't see that significant hiring will be taking place from these airlines. Should we concern about the current situation in the United States? Yes and no. If you're thinking about the micro perspective, yes. Right now, 2025 can be a little bit worse than 2024, but in the long-term perspective, the airlines will be getting more airplanes, and also low-cost airlines are transiting towards to a more non-low-cost perspective by introducing first-class seat, introducing the free changes to tickets. That's why they're trying to be a non-ultra low-cost carriers like other airlines as well. That's why they can create a little bit value to their businesses, and then finally again they can grow slowly. That's why, guys, in the long-term perspective, I'm still hopeful from the industry in the United States that airlines will be hiring at least for the next 5-10 years. Once the manufacturers solve the supply chain issues, I think the airlines again will start hiring significant amount of pilots. We're talking about thousands and thousands. The future of the pilot jobs, on the other hand, is not that bad, guys. In fact, it is going into a positive trend. In 2025, the airline industry is projected to achieve total revenue of $1 trillion, making the first time this figure in the history of the aviation industry. From a macro perspective, still being an airline pilot is still great. If you're still thinking about being an airline pilot, please go ahead and do so, because in the future there will be more pilot needed. That's my thought, and that's also aligning with the global forecast of the Boeing about the airline pilots. That being said, guys, the National Air Carrier Association projects over 16,000 retirements in the next 5 years. This number goes to 80,000 in the next 2 decades. So there will be 80,000 pilots retiring in 20 years. We are talking about zero growth. There will be a lot of pilots needed. And we all know that airlines are desperately looking for airplanes to grow and expand their fleet because they have demand, but they cannot find the airplanes. Combined with the growth that they're potentially having, we can see that there will be huge amount of pilots needed for the airlines in the next 20 years. Based on the global pilot forecast, the Boeing thinks that there will be 674,000 new commercial pilot jobs within 2 decades. And also, we can see that they're estimating 34,000 pilot shortages in 2025. Don't forget, we are not talking about only United States, we are talking about globally. We don't feel pilot shortages right now in the United States in the legacies, but definitely there's a pilot shortage when it comes to worldwide thinking. But now, let's return back to our topic, what we are expecting in 2025. Let's go region by region. We discussed the United States first. Now I'm going to discuss a little bit about the Europe. In Europe, pilot outlook is a little bit stagnant like what it used to be. In general, there are approximately 4,000 new pilot jobs will be created in Europe region, and that's mainly coming from legacy carriers like Lufthansa, British Airways, low-cost carriers like EasyJet, and also Ryanair. The Lufthansa group is planning to hire 800 pilots in 2025. But don't forget, as a group, they're going to hire 800 pilots. They're going to hire mainly for their daughter companies, not only for Lufthansa. That's why we can say that there are lots of job opportunities in the low-cost side, in EasyJet, Ryanair, daughter companies of the Lufthansa. But when it comes to legacies in Europe, we can see that job opportunities is not that great compared to American legacy counterparts. Surprisingly, low-cost airlines are paying good enough, especially if you're a captain, an experienced captain, to make their salaries even better. Low costs are doing really good in Europe, but low costs are really doing horrible in United States. There are multiple reasons why European counterparts are really doing great and hiring tons of pilots compared to United States, but this is another topic. So we will discuss this in another video. Now, it is safe to say that based on Boeing's long-term outlook, European carriers are expected to hire more than 122,000 new pilots between now and 2041, averaging 6,000 pilots until 2041. 4,000 expected this year, so we can see that they will need to increase the number to have average 6,000 pilots per year because European populations are also retiring. We can say that especially legacy carriers will have huge amount of retirements in 2025, 2026 and 2027. Those airlines will need to replace their aging and retiring pilots with the young pilot group. So guys, in Europe, I must say that there are really nice opportunities for 2025. Now let's talk about the Middle East. I worked there for a couple of years, so I'm familiar with the Middle Eastern environment, and we all know that Middle Eastern airlines are hiring a lot and non-stop. Even economic downturns are not affecting Middle Eastern airlines to hire new pilots for various reasons. The first and most important thing why Middle Eastern airlines are hiring a lot is the attrition rate. So in a normal year without zero growth, the attrition rate in the airlines are so high, so they need to replace those people who are resigning from the company or retiring from the company, because those places are treated as like not a permanent address, right? The pilots are going there, flying there a couple of years, 10 years, 15 years max, and then they leave for good to another country. There is no pilot in this part of the world that comes to an airline and then work there 30-35 years non-stop. That's why attrition rates are also causing the airlines to hire non-stop. That's the first reason. And the second reason, airlines are expanding in this region thanks to their great location. So from Australia to Europe, from Asia to United States, they have a great hub so that they can use their geographical location to transfer their passengers from east to west and west to east. That's why they keep growing and growing. That causes them to hire non-stop as well. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the numbers. When you check the Boeing outlook, you can see that until 2040, this region will need 54,000 additional pilots, and it's all because of the expansion. And also we can see that new players are joining in Middle Eastern part, and Riyadh Air is number one. That will be the very dominating player in the future. In this year standalone, Riyadh Air is expected to hire more than 700 pilots with their grand openings. So can you imagine 700 pilots right away? And this number will go up and up with the coming years. So it is safe to say that this region will be hiring a lot of pilots in the future. And most airlines in this region are really good when it comes to safety record, and they are generally hiring experienced pilots. So if you are at the beginning of your career, it is a little bit difficult for you to get in to those airlines. You need to gain some experience as well. If you don't have any experience, you can eventually make your way to Middle East if you want to fly for one of these big airlines such as Emirates, Qatar, Etihad, and then Riyadh Air as well. So guys, it's a great opportunity. So now we can slowly move from Middle East towards one of the best growing region in the world, Asia Pacific, and I'm including this region to China, India as well. It is worth noting that this part of the region recovered from the COVID the last. Okay, India and China has really strong domestic market, but when it comes to small countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia, affected a lot by COVID because of the strong measurements were in place in those countries during COVID. They reduced their workforce significantly. We can check the Cathay, how many people they fired, and that's why they struggled a lot to regain their power after COVID. So it is safe to say that finally Asian airlines are recovering. Now it's so close to fully recover, but they lost years, money, and time to recover. We can say that they're way behind their Middle Eastern, European, and North American counterparts. Cathay Pacific is desperately trying to meet their hiring target because they were lacking lots of pilots compared to their competitors, but now they're on track to achieve their targets. And also airlines like Korean Airlines, after merging with Asiana, and Japanese Airlines are also hiring for 2025, and they're planning to expand their fleet. Let's talk a little bit about China and India. This region is the fastest growing country when it comes to aviation and airline transportation, and they are facing significant pilot shortages due to lack of airplane and labor. Industry analysts are estimating that there will be more than 20,000 pilots needed in a couple of years. Of course, it is not possible to achieve these numbers within a couple of years. So it is safe to say that these airlines will be hiring lots of international pilots from all around the world. So guys, if you're a newbie, if you're a rookie pilot, if you're trying to gain experience, it is always good to check India, especially if you want to gain some experience, because those airlines will offer lots of opportunities in the coming years for you to gain experience. Then from there on, you can stay those airlines, be a captain, or you can move to Middle Eastern Airlines. We can also say that in India, additionally, 15 or 16,000 pilots will be needed from now on. Additional 15 and 1,600 pilots a year is a lot of pilots, guys. You think that for India it's a small number, but there's no country in the world that compensates that amount of pilots. And also don't forget, airlines are also trying to hire experienced pilots to lower their insurance premiums. That's why there are lots of variables when it comes to operating an airline. That's why when you see the Asian airlines hiring lots of foreigners all around the world to put insurance premium down, that's why we can say that lots of international pilots will be going to India to find a good, decent paying salaries. Now we can discuss a little bit about the least growing region, and I must say that the Africa and Latin American region is really growing slow compared to other part of the world. So this part is projected to hire 1,000 to 2,000 pilots per year. The numbers are significantly lower than the rest of the world due to economic slowdown of this region or lack of aviation, lack of transportation tools available, and in the Latin American part, lack of economical growth compared to other part of the world. It is safe to say that Africa and Latin American countries, unfortunately, will be hiring the least amount of pilots for the foreseeable future from now on until 2040. That's it, guys. That's why you should be focusing on the future, and then you can see that the future of being a pilot is bright. But now let's go back to 2025, and we can say that we can still expose some challenges in 2025, and we can say that 2025 challenges are temporarily. So once the manufacturers solve their supply chain issues, when economical downturn in 2025 is solved, and if we get a little bit better economical speaking, and in 2026, 2027, the passenger transportation will be skyrocketing again. The companies will be needed more airplanes and the passengers. That's why you must be a little bit patient about the 2025, but then I must say that 2026 will be brighter than 2025. That being said, I hope you like the video. What do you think about how is the pilot hirings in 2025? Do you think that it's gonna get better than 2024? What will be your opinion about pilot hirings? I would like to hear from you. Please go ahead and send your comments down below. I'll read each of them, and also I would like to discuss what is your analysis about the pilot hirings from now on for the future. The airlines are gonna hire more, or will they pause and then want to see what will happen in the future? I would like to hear from you. That being said, that concludes today's video. But before going, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get the notifications. Until then, see you in the next videos. Bye bye.